Welcome to another session of Boardman Outlook. The three trustees are here to, after the end of a very active summer, to give you an update on what happened this past summer and talk about some of the things that we're looking forward to going into next year. I guess one of the things I would start off with is, a month or so back, we had a very successful community day once again.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there was probably about 1,500 people that stopped by at some point for a hot dog, cotton candy, or a hayride.
Yeah, and we really enjoy doing that every year, and I think we want to get the word out too, that if there's anybody out there, any community groups that might want to have a booth at their community day next spring, I think it's always a great time to do it and get the word out about what it's like to live in Boardman.
Yeah, it's just such a good feeling. Of course, the weather has always cooperated with us, and you come out, you can see the police cars, the cruisers, you can see the road department vehicles. Our department heads are there. Just a nice chance to walk around, pick representatives from Boardman Park. As you said, the hay rides went over to the Janie Jenkins property to show what's going on over there with the 4-H. It's a good day.
Oh, absolutely. And I think everyone enjoyed it. And I know I told the story before about people coming up and talking about how they can, it's an opportunity to do something with their kids, and it didn't cost them a cent, but they were able to spend 2 or 3 hours making memories.
Yeah, really, really enjoyable. Speaking of things that have been enjoyable, the first 6 months of this year, we took our meetings on the road and went to wherever they would welcome us and had a coffee pot on for me and had several meetings out throughout the community. Guys, I think that went really well.
Well, I like the fact that our regular meetings are the second and fourth Monday at 5:30 at the Township Center, but I like the fact that every once in a while we take some time and we get out, we go visit into the community, so give more people an opportunity to come to a board meeting. And I think that we met a lot of new people this year, got a lot of new ideas.
Well, it certainly makes it easier for the community. I mean, if they can just come down the street real quick. Some of them just kind of walk because it's a church,
yes,
and it's maybe 3 or 4 houses up, and they just walk down and they get to know us and I see what we do and ask some questions and get some answers.
Well, it's nice to see somebody different too at the meetings. And you're right, we met at the church on the corner of Matthews and Sheridan, and those folks literally walked to the meeting.
Right.
And that was nice to have them there, and because we don't normally see them at our meetings.
Well, in Matthews and Sheridan, of course, they got themselves their new roundabout, so that's
right.
They probably were looking for an update, which it wasn't necessarily a township project, even though we kind of making sure we kept an eye on it because we have to get our vehicles through there during the snow and making sure the school buses get through there. But they were pretty happy, I believe, with that new roundabout.
Yes, I've heard good about it. And even that night we had the meeting there, we were able to get the county engineer to join us to answer questions on that project because he was overseeing that project. And it's nice to have the ability to go out in the public and do things like that, I think.
Absolutely, and I know even at our regular meetings, oftentimes we really appreciate the fact that Dan Slagle from the park is coming to a lot of our trustee meetings now. And it's just nice because if people come and maybe they don't have a chance to go to a park board meeting, but they come to a township meeting and they're able to ask Dan a question about what's going on at the park. So it's working really well.
So overall, it's been a good start to the year, and I realize we're, in the end of September, coming into October. So let's start to talk about what's going on in our departments. And I guess one of the biggest things that's happened is this past summer, our fire chief retired and we hired a new fire chief.
Yeah, he came to us, Chief Brown, about a couple of years ago, and he did a number of things that we had tasked him with, and we're extremely happy how Chief Brown kind of laid the groundwork for us to be able to hire someone internally. And of course, we hired Mark Pitzer. He's our new chief, and he's done. He's only been there about a month, but he's done a great job really up to this point. I mean, he's got to get his feet wet a little bit, and I think he's doing a great job.
Well, the nice thing about, I guess, the story behind this too with Mark is that unfortunately during one of our darker periods at the township, during some layoffs, Mark lost his job as part of that layoff, but went down and he was out of state working, and when we had opportunities to bring a few firemen back, he wanted to come back. And again, that says a lot, the fact that he wanted to come back, he wanted to be part of Boardman again, and the fact that he was able to stick with it and end up being the fire chief. I think it's a wonderful story.
And you're right, George Brown also made it so that we could hire within, because when Chief Dorman retired a few years ago, at that time we just didn't feel comfortable, even though we opened it up and we did have one candidate from within, but this time we had really 5 applied. We had 3 excellent candidates.
Right, and any one of them could have stepped in, but I think Mark just had just that unique thing that we were looking for. I mean, I think he had the ability to understand the training that's involved in the fire department, because he does a lot of training, and I think he wanted to reconnect with the community as well from the fire department, and I think he had a really good personal relationship with all the firemen and firewomen.
And how exciting it is that for us to be able to hire a new fire chief who we know is going to be with us for quite a long time now. I mean, he's fairly early in his career. I'm sure we'll be around as fire chief a lot longer than the 3 of us are going to be sitting as trustees, but hopefully he's going to be here for quite a long time.
Yeah, that's great. And of course, one of the challenges he has been something we've been dealing with for some time, is the challenge concerning the main fire station. And we continue to try to figure out, do we spend the money and totally remodel that building, put some additions onto it, or do we, rebuild something? And we struggle with that, and I'm sure that's something Mark's going to be working on.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of the, Chief Brown left them some stuff, and then of course we've been actively working on this project for some time. So a lot of the groundwork has been laid. It's just trying to make that final financial decision.
Yeah.
And I think we're close. I think we're decided that we need to make sure that it makes economic sense, and I think that's all 3 of us. I think I can say that we're looking for to do the right thing by the people that have to work there, but at the same time, economically, to do the right thing for Boardman Township and the finances.
And I think that something that people can relate to is the fact that we've lost a lot of money out of our budget over the last few years. Between some of the local taxes and the estate taxes and some of those kind of things, significant cuts in our budget. And so we've been trying to run as lean and mean as efficiently as we possibly can. And I think people can relate to this at home, is that you're running lean, you're watching your pennies, and then something happens to your roof, or some major repair to your house, and you got to, okay, all of a sudden we got to reshuffle. How are we going to take care of this? And I think that's kind of where we're at with some of these capital projects that we have coming up, like the fire station, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about the costs of upkeeping the roads right now. And I think that when you're running lean and now you have some of these expenses that are popping up like this, we got some tough decisions to make.
Well, what was it, about 6 years ago that we were running a nearly $20 million budget.
Right.
And with the cuts from the state, I mean, the estate tax alone
Right.
took a $1 million hit from us. And we were running a little over $17 million budget, all these years later. And like you said, when the heating system at the police side went out. And fortunately, we put some portables, some little solutions, until we looked for what made economic sense. And when we had the first bid, it was outrageous. We couldn't do it. And then when we started, because we had time and because of the chief's commitment to keep police officers on the road and not in the station, we didn't have a lot of pushback over the as far as it being too hot in there, because the dispatch had their own. But we actually found a very economic way of solving that problem, and it saved us really probably over $100,000.
I believe. Well, and wrapping up with the fire department, want to make sure everybody's aware of, on Saturday, October the 11th, is a very special day, Fire Safety Day, and at the main fire station on 224 near Southern Boulevard, from 11 to 2, the public is invited to come out and bring the kids. It's a great event. I know we've all been there.
Right. I mean, they have a little kind of a makeshift room that they set on fire to show how fast a room could be engulfed in flames, and then they also tear a car up with the jaws of life, and they have some food, touch a truck kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's great because for the kids, they can learn about fire safety, but at the same time have fun. And I think for the parents to be able to see the station, to be able to talk to and meet the new chief and talk to some of the guys and lady that are there in our fire department and talk with them about what they do every day.
Yeah, it's a good day, and hopefully the public comes out. They always have. It'll be a nice day, and bring the kids. I think it's really good for the kids to have that exposure.
Right.
Brad, you were talking about the police department, some of the things going on there, and we've actually, with the start of the new school year, our diversion program is up and running, and Larry, I know you were so involved in putting the pieces together on that.
Well, I just think it's an important part of what we do in police work with the township. That it's not just going out and catching the bad guys and putting them away. It's also about prevention. It's also about, you know, trying to help people adjust to some of the issues that they're facing in the community. And I think that we've had this problem for a long time, for years. Again, we had this program. Another one of, unfortunately, was hit by the cuts that we had to make. But when the folks supported us with the new levy a few years ago, we were able to reinstitute that program. And what it does is allows the police officers to be on the street, and as the chief always says, to go out and hunt.
Right.
Instead of constantly reacting, they can be proactive in how we keep the community safe.
I think all three of us are thrilled to have that program back.
Well, one of the things we've kind of made a mandate of our own is to make sure we're working with the schools in Boardman Park, and we've done a lot with both entities and with the schools with having this diversion program. You know, allows for the counselors to have an issue. They can go directly to someone before it becomes something in the courts or something that could you know, tarnish a record. But we're trying to, you know, people make mistakes, so we're trying to give that opportunity for that mistake to be dealt with in a way that is not going to stick with them for years to come. And then, of course, in our cooperation with the schools, we did something new this year. That's we actually hired a police officer, and the school is paying 75% of the salary, and then we're paying the other 25% because on the off days of school, they'll be working in the township and doing some more of investigative things for us for a short term. But Officer Paulus is now an officer here at Boardman High School. He's stationed here every day, and I think he's made a tremendous impact in the first month of school.
Well, and I like the fact that, as you mentioned, you know, this has been one of our initiatives. When we had our 2016 plan that we've been staying very true to, and I think one of the things we talked about was really trying to bring the schools and the park and the township together. And it really is something I'm proud of as a resident of Boardman. When I talk to people who are in those three systems, and they say that they don't remember ever a time where the school and the township and the park is working so closely together. And I think it's really helping us move forward.
Well, it is, and along the police department, we've all been very active lately, doing a lot of interviewing for some police officers. And we made a commitment to this community when that levy passed.
Right, and we lived up to that commitment within about a year and a half. Hired 10 officers, and then of course through retirements, and then we had an officer actually go into another department, and then we have some potential movements of some other some possibilities to you know, be expanded into other departments. It's not a bad thing for an officer to leave us. It is quite an investment, but it does allow us to have these contacts in other communities where we can call them up to a guy that says, hey, you know, you worked here at Boardman, you can give us some help here on this particular investigation. So even though it's a huge investment, when we lose someone, there is an investment that is received back when they go to another agency or another community. But with all these, you know, people leaving for a variety of reasons, we've interviewed 6,
Yes.
I think, over the last 4 weeks, and we did offer 3 more people, 3 young men, the conditional offers of employment last week, and then we offered 1 2 weeks prior.
Well, I think the great thing about that too is we have to recognize that a lot of our officers who move on are moving on for really, you know, positions that are higher responsibility and things like that, sometimes with other departments. And I think it speaks volumes of how people view our department. You know, they see us as somewhere where we do a great job. We do a great job with the training. Our people are professional, and that's why they have opportunities. So you got to be, and in one sense, you know, you hate to see them go. In the other sense, I think we're kind of proud of the fact that they've had these opportunities.
Yeah.
Right.
It's helpful to everybody.
And the new guys that we're hiring, and we're just so impressed when we start hiring or interviewing some of these guys. There's some I think really looking forward to get some wonderful new people coming into the police department.
So we'll be at full strength from that levy promise. We'll be back at full strength here, pending the background checks. So in about 3 weeks, we should be back at full strength, and the commitment will be honored. If someone would offer up their retirement, we're going to fill that position as quickly as possible.
And I think what might be nice now, since we're going to be doing some swearing-ins, is maybe we can do something where try to get the word out a little bit about when we're going to be swearing in these police officers, and really invite people to come out, because that's a great way to come out and meet our new officers and be part of that celebration when we swear them in.
It is.
Well, maybe we'll extend an invitation to our BSTN family here, and and see if they might come on that day. If we have 3 swearing-ins on one
Great
day,
idea.
it'll be quite a crowd there for one day.
And it's a good event.
Right.
Speaking of challenges, just very quickly, everybody I'm sure is aware of, road salt. Last winter, we paid $27.50 a ton. We had a chance to fill our salt dome during the summer at $44 a ton, which we thought weren't happy, but we took advantage of it. The price this year is $146 for the winter fill, a ton.
Right. Just, you think, okay, well, we got a ton, that's a lot. But we go through 3,000 tons of salt on a mild winter.
Yeah.
And so you take that number, that takes up the entire budget of our paving program.
Right.
If we did not fill that with our $44 price. Because I remember us agonizing over, and then we said, you know what, let's do this. Let's roll the dice, we think, and we thought, right, we thought the prices were going to go up. We never thought they'd go up to $146. And, in reality, what's kind of nice about it is that other communities are calling us, asking if we will sell them salt, because honestly, we're the only township, I believe, and maybe the city, that has salt ready for next year. The rest of them are almost out. They didn't do this summer fill.
And it's like we talked about earlier, for people to kind of to relate to. Can you imagine what are your regular expenses that you have every month going up 5-fold, which is what's happened to this. And not only that, you throw in the fact that the cost of paving roads has gone up about 3 times.
Right.
And so some of these costs are just going through the roof.
Yeah. And speaking of costs going up, the cost of repaving. This year we're fortunate the paving program is nearing completion for 2014, but the cost to pave a mile of road today compared to even 10 years ago has gone up substantially. It's costing us about $100,000 a mile now.
Right, and what we've been doing, been utilizing some opportunities that are out there. We've been taking some low-cost loans, actually no-cost loans, and to try to double up, because we're trying to do some catch-up. And I know, Larry, you've talked about this paving program, how we used to do 10 miles, and for that same price we're doing now 3 miles.
Right.
And the fact that we've had this opportunity for 2 years in a row to take out a 0% loan, we went ahead and doubled the program at no cost, because we can spread this out for years. But
Right.
we can't do that each year, because pretty soon we'll be making payments on all of our no-cost loans. So we're looking at a creative way this year, and we're hoping to get some grant money. But that's dependent upon a lot of factors.
Well, and I think you also have to recognize that we've had a lot of excessive expenses, like you were talking about, and this winter just did so much damage to the roads. And some of the drains that we have on some of the roads, we're trying to fix them one at a time. But there was more damage done in this year than probably the last 7-8 years combined. And we were talking about expenses, and we should probably mention West Parkside and the culvert out there. And these are the kind of things that just pop up completely unexpected. And this is why we're trying to figure out a way to find some additional funding so that we can be proactive. We don't have to sit around and wait to try to write a bunch of grants to repair something like that. And we hope that folks understand about that culvert. I think it's important to talk about. We had to close that down. I mean, we were very concerned about people's safety with that road.
Well, one thing too that's been an issue is the little red barriers, orange barriers that are out on some of the catch basins and stuff like that. And we are actively repairing those. And some people wonder, where are you repairing them at? Well, we concentrated on all the roads that are being repaved this year, so that they can be repaired and then repaved in that particular area. So we have been spending a lot of man hours on roads that are being repaved, and then now they're going to start going around. But just, I guess, to keep it in perspective, everyone says, well, there's too many of those. Well, in our eyes, there are too many, but there are 5,000 of them in Boardman. And we have about 80 of them that are right now that are on the books to be repaired between now and hopefully sometime next summer. But for every 80 that are repaired, 80 more start to deteriorate. Our infrastructure is aging.
Right.
And because of it, it's a non-stop. So when we repair 3, one goes down, so another orange barrier goes up. But we are actively repairing these. And we actually put some extra help into the road department just recently to try to address this. So we're very proactive on it. It's just it's so time consuming with the cement and the rebuilding, and you don't know what you have until you get in there and you start tearing it out, and all of a sudden you realize, well, this is not a 2-hour job. This is a 3-day job.
Right.
And the cost to repair each one is, again, that's going up also.
Right.
Well, it could be as cheap as $200, and he's gone up to $4,000 or $5,000 because he's had to go down so deep and rebuild all the way up.
All the way up.
With man hours and materials.
Yeah. Our zoning department continues to be very active throughout from the beginning of the year until now. We've been cleaning up on some zoning issues that were outstanding. And I think the folks there have done just a wonderful job.
Well, they've been tasked with so much, and they're actually nearing completion on some of these projects, and ready to move forward.
Well, and not only working on rezoning, which is really important for us to maintain the integrity of these neighborhoods, but also the demolition program that we just really got into last year for the first time. And what I really like about it, again, we keep saying this, being proactive. You know, rather than waiting till we have a number of homes that we have to demolish, we're trying to do them as they come, and so that we can stay up on it. And if there's a home that's in that much of a disrepair that needs to be demolished, let's demolish it. Let's plant grass there, and let's prepare it for that next investor that wants to come in and build there.
But just to demolish these homes, I mean, that's, again, we have to have so many other outside agencies involved.
Yeah.
We just can't go in and say, take that one down. I mean, we need Board of Health to be cooperative with us. Sometimes our fire department has to be able to go in there and determine a house is not safe. If a fire would happen, they could not possibly go into a home.
Right.
Sometimes we need police to go in and be able to get access, and sometimes we need the prosecutor to get us into the door. Which happened last week. We finally got the prosecutor to say, go ahead.
Yeah.
Our backyard was so bad, but because it was locked, the prosecutor finally gave us the approval to move forward.
So, but all things considered, I really think, you're right, we tasked that department with a lot. I really think they stepped up.
They're doing a great job.
Right. I mean, I can't say enough about what the department heads. I mean, Jack Nichols in the police department, Larry Wilson in the road department, Mark Pitzers, of course, hit the road hard, and then Sarah Garland and her staff. They've all done a great job, and I appreciate the leadership that Stephanie and then Jason Lurie, our township administrator, and Deputy Stephanie have done. And overall, I've been very pleased with the year, and hopefully the last couple months will go just as smooth.
I would think so. And of course, we have to mention, does anybody know when Halloween is?
It's usually on the 31st of October, isn't it?
We made a perpetual motion. It lives on. So October 31st from 5 to 7. And unfortunately, it's on a football night, but in all reality, we know that. But there is something going on in Boardman every night of the week that is important to someone.
So they could go, take the kids to go trick-or-treating, keep them in their costumes, and go to the football game wearing your costumes, and it could be a fun night.
There you go.
And it should be a good night. We've been traditionally having good weather on that night as well.
Yeah.
We should probably also mention before we go to October 10th is our Good Morning Boardman Breakfast.
Yes.
And that's a partnership that we do with the school and the school system and the park system. And this year we're very happy that our not only will they be hearing from Mr. Costello and as far as what's happening in the township, and Mr. Slagle about the park, and Mr. Saxon about the schools, but Jim Tressel will be our keynote speaker this year.
Yeah. Should be a great morning, and can call Boardman Park about reservations. So I think we're just about out of time. A lot of good things coming forward. A lot of great things have happened so far. So please stay tuned, and we'll give you the update again next month. Thank you.